Welcome into the Slobber Knocker Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Leake, joined as always by my man, Uncle T. And today, we're going to break down everything from the college football playoff, had the first 12-team games that we watched this weekend. We got a bunch of stuff in the NFL. Going to talk about the Cowboys with their big win last night, despite being eliminated from playoff contention. We'll do the Brookie of the week. We'll do the 2-minute drill. We'll do the most highly anticipated WNBA or not game in a long time.
Only highly anticipated for you.
No.
Because I went every week, and I nearly went perfect. Well, no, wait. I did go perfect.
You did go perfect last week. That's why it's anticipated.
Before I missed one. But, yeah, I'm sure I'll dominate like I always do again.
Well, the problem is...
Like I said, not good at a lot of things in life, but WNBA or not, I'm real good.
Look, I give you a break here because 3 out of 5 is technically 60%. That's actually a failing grade, but I count it as a win for you.
This is a sports show, bro. It's like a playoff series. 3 out of 5. It's winning a series.
Okay, I didn't know this was a competition, but now that it is, going into this week, I'm ready to you up.
No, this week you did all kinds of crazy shit, so I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
You may just be lying about who people are, and I could never even question it. You're like, oh, you missed that one again. Just put in different deals.
We will get into everything. We're going to start with the 2-minute drill, which has turned into the 17-minute drill, but hopefully it'll go a little quicker this day. But it's a good way to recap kind of the fun stuff that we saw yesterday. We're going to start here in the NFL, and we watched this game Thursday night. It was the Chargers and the Broncos, and we had one of the weirder things happen in this game. So Broncos rather have the ball with 8 seconds to go. They're punting it from their own 15-yard line. I don't know why they just didn't just kick the ball out of bounds here. But they didn't. They punted it. And on the return, a fair catch was called.
Yep.
And they were run into by the Broncos. A flag came in. He did not catch it, but it was clear kick-catch interference. Now, at this point, and you're going to have to explain this to me because I thought when we talked about it at first that you could just do this at any point in the game if you fair catch the ball.
He was actually going to catch that ball with 1 second. And obviously, they would have been too far back anyway. But with 1 second, they wouldn't have been eligible to do that. The time does have to expire. That's why it's so rare to see, and we just never see it. It's at the end of a half or the end of a game.
And it's got to be a fair caught ball.
Correct.
So just
it's a fair catch kick.
Catch interference had nothing to do with it.
No, but he called fair catch.
That's crazy. But so right here then, Cameron Dicker, this weirdly enough, we'll get into this. This swung the game.
Yeah.
This was a huge kick in the game.
Yeah.
Vince.
So apparently Dicker was talking about it after the game, and he said, no, it's actually something we do know in practice, but they didn't realize they could do it because of he didn't actually end up making the fair catch.
Because you normally have to catch the ball.
Correct. You have to catch it and then kick it. But since there was a penalty, the special teams coordinator came up and said, no, we should still be able to do it because he called fair catch. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, over to the Lions Bears. Now, we saw this play yesterday, this trick play from Ben Johnson. I love the creativity. Jared Goff actually fakes like he's falling down. Jahmyr Gibbs fakes like he's falling down. And then they slip Laporta out and throw a touchdown. It's a beautiful play. But here's what's funny about this that I saw later on looking on Twitter after the game. So this was Packers versus Bears. This was week 1 of last year. Okay. Week 1 of 2023. All right, now watch Jordan Love here. Okay, he's going to get the snap. He's going to drop the ball. The ball's out. Okay, so it's a fumble. And this is the exact same play. He's going to pick it up right to him, roll, and throw it. The exact same call. Ben Johnson went and took that exact play and turned it into a real play. I swear to you that's what he did. If you watch them together right here, it's hilarious. They're the exact same play. So they took that play from 2023.
Let me ask you this question, though, about that.
Yeah.
The Jordan Love one. Do you think that Jordan Love, because I'll go one step deeper into it because I heard Jared Goff talk about it. In practice, originally, Ben Johnson, who's a lunatic, wanted Jared Goff to fumble it. He goes, do you think you can fumble it and have time to pick it up? And Jared goes, I mean, we can try that, but I don't think that's a really good idea. And, talked him out of it, and he goes, okay, well, just act like it's a fumble, and we'll have Jahmyr Gibbs dive to make it look like a fumble. They'll step up, and we'll still get it around him. So my question on this one, and the only reason I think he does perhaps drop that on I don't know if he is or that's because they're all pass blocking the whole time, and then that tight end sneaks out that way. So I don't know if they legitimately stole that play or if he just dropped the ball.
I think this was a play action.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Just dropped it.
Just
okay.
because of the way, if you watch how the ball, it actually bounces twice. It just seems like...
Yeah. Well, and Ben Johnson's probably the only guy crazy enough to be like, hey, let's put it on the ground. Let's do this exact
right,
play.
like, I'm not saying if I was doing that, I would be like, okay, fake the drop.
But
Don't actually drop it.
Yeah. But yeah, so Goff was like, no, let's just fake the drop. I'm not going to actually put it on the ground.
Actually,
so that is
funny.
really funny. But yeah, earlier in the week, he said he wanted him to fumble it and then pick it back up. And they were like, no, let's just fake it and then throw it. So it ended up working. But yeah, that was a cool play.
Okay, let's go over the Bengals and the Browns. This was late in the game. Bengals already have the game in hand, 24-6. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is starting for the Browns in place of Jameis Winston this week. Now watch this. This is one of my favorite plays of the week.
Oh, no one got it.
That is the most Bengals defense play I've ever seen in my entire life. Literally, how many dudes touched this ball?
Golly, yeah. That was a lot of tips there.
That's the Lou Anarumo defense. All right. How about the Falcons offense? I'm sorry, the Giants offensive line. This is pretty hilarious. This is just the Giants in a nutshell. So you've got them. Drew Lock. Look at this.
Yeah.
I mean, wait till you see the highlight on the
that was
backside.
Evan Neal.
Evan Neal, exactly. Your guy, Evan Neal. That Matthew Judon gets the pick six. But watch this from the backside. They break it down.
I don't know what's going on here. I mean, watch. I mean, this is poor technique by Evan Neal, and then Chris Hubbard. I mean,
that looks like they're trying to throw the game.
That's like tank job. They're like, yeah, just let him through to hit Drew Lock.
If that was anybody but Evan Neal, I would say that was a tank job, but he's that bad.
Yeah.
He's that bad.
He is that bad. Or it just makes it even more believable where it's like, hey, Evan, we know you're horrible anyway. We really need you to not eat. We know your normal effort's not good enough, but just play even worse for us today, buddy.
We'll give you $100,000.
He's on his way out of there.
We'll give you $100,000 to tune it down a little bit.
That guy, one of the worst misses on a lineman.
I mean, it's pretty bad. You saw this. You saw this live. I was pissed at the time because Addison didn't get the touchdown. But how about the Vikings? Now we thought you were asking what dance this was, and originally
it was just something.
I thought it was Remember the Titans at first, but this actually was to a Disney musical called Camp Rock, which I had never actually heard of, and I'm going to show this is what they actually did it to. And I found this on the internet, and apparently there's a video of them. I saw the video
practicing
of them. Yeah,
somewhere.
they're like it's of course Cam Bynum because he's the one who leads this whole thing.
He's the ringleader. Yeah.
Yes, he's got the phone and he's showing them the dance on the phone, and then they're practicing it before the game, doing all the motions. It's hilarious, dude.
It's pretty funny. It's hard to argue with it because it's like I think those guys get even more excited for turnovers. So if you're like Kevin O'Connell, he's not the guy to say anything anyway. But it's like, well, just keep doing what you're doing. We're somehow 12-2, so it's like you guys keep doing Disney dances in the end zone. Still, my favorite was the Parent Trap handshake. They've had some good ones, but they've had some good ones.
I like the White Chicks one.
The White Chicks one was pretty funny too.
All right, over to some hockey, NHL, right in your neck of the woods. Ottawa Senators. Okay, this is Matthew Tkachuk. All right, Matthew Tkachuk gets hit in the mouth here. He lost a tooth and had 19 stitches in his mouth. They're going to show a video of him, what he looked like after.
I hate to correct you because it's hockey.
Go ahead.
It's Brady.
Sorry, Brady Tkachuk. I think they even said it up there, Brady Tkachuk. Right. Look at this. They're scraping the blood off the ice. Look at this. Look at this guy. Look at his mouth. I mean, absolutely destroyed.
That's hockey, baby.
And guess what? Tkachuk comes right back in.
Oh, yeah.
He's back in the game. Not only is he back in the game, he actually right here is going to get the game-winning goal for the Ottawa Senators in overtime on the putback.
Love it.
And Tkachuk with the walk-off winner after 19 stitches and a tooth knocked out. What a warrior. That's a real sport right there.
Yeah, like Charles Barkley says, an NBA player would sit out 6 to 8 months with that. I don't even know if a career-ending surgery. Kawhi Leonard got popped at most. Kawhi Leonard still hasn't played a game yet this year, has he?
No, Kawhi Leonard.
I mean, dude, let me tell you something. I was so mad when he left the Spurs, and I was like, fuck that guy. Thank God he left. He was going to do that his whole career.
Yes, he was.
Thank God he left.
Thank God.
We somehow got Wemby in the stars aligned.
God was
smiling upon the Spurs once again. Got rid of worthless-ass Kawhi Leonard. That guy is,
And we were all upset when Kawhi left, including myself, and look what happened. We got Wemby. Okay, over to some college hoops here. Tyshawn Eaglestaff is this guy's name, all right? Playing against Alabama. All right, Alabama in this game was like a 27-point favorite. This guy put up 40 on Alabama in this game. He's a Native American from North Dakota, and apparently he's Resball, baby. Apparently he is a legitimate NBA prospect. I didn't know that. He's got some game, dude. I mean, he was draining threes, step backs, taking it to the rim. This Alabama team is one of the better teams in the country. Obviously, you can see on the screen here, they're number 6 in the country. But they're really, really talented.
Too bad they didn't win. That would have been awesome.
He hit the game-tying shot in this game.
They did end up losing, though, right?
They did. But they, like, look at this. I mean, these step backs are just dirty, dude. They were going.
Shot it 30 times. I love it. 50%, 15 or 30.
They were going absolutely nuts here, too. It was hilarious. I mean, look at these. Bang. Just bucket after bucket after bucket. I mean, these are just unbelievable pull-up ISO plays. They're not running sets for him here.
What a weird spot for Alabama to go play them. That is the.
It's good for college basketball that they do
that. Real good for college basketball, but it's a weird
super
deal.
weird. All right, over to some college football. How about Kirk Cignetti? Let's listen to what he had to say before the playoff game.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of skeptics. There's a lot of doubters. I get it, right? Haven't beat a top 25 team. Nebraska's 25th in the coach poll. We beat their 56-7, you know. And I've never beat a top 25 team. Well, you know, Coastal Carolina back when we were little James Madison, moving up to the Sun Belt, they were 22nd end of the year. We beat them 47-7. Okay. So we don't just beat top 25 teams. We beat the shit out of them. Okay. Google him.
A few moments later.
Yeah. Jeremiah Love.
And there goes Jeremiah Love down the sideline. 98 yards on the first series of the game. I mean, dude, this was an ass whipping. The score actually ended up being the closest of the 3 games, but I actually think it was the biggest blowout.
Yeah, it was. They scored 2 times in a minute at the end of the game.
Was it 27-3? I believe at one point.
Yeah,
it's 27-3.
Beating the shit out of
them. A little more college football. This was going to be the best thing I saw this week, but then I decided to go with something else. But how about this fake punt? This might be the coolest fake punt I've ever seen from UNLV.
Yeah,
that's an awesome call, like a push pass.
Yeah.
Did he score here? I think he did.
I don't know.
No, got tackled.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's inside, but that was the coolest fake punt I've seen in a long time. Okay, all right. This I wanted to talk about this, and so I'm just gonna put this up there. This is Doug Gottlieb. Doug Gottlieb, if you don't know who he was, he's a college basketball analyst. All right, and this kind of came to fruition last week. So Doug Gottlieb and Adam Schefter, and I don't have this on the screen, got into a Twitter beef because Adam Schefter had tweeted about Sacramento State's NIL collective raising $50 million, and the way Doug Gottlieb went about tweeting back at Adam Schefter, which I thought maybe they were friends because they were both at ESPN, but they were not. And he typed out a very interesting tweet that I'll put on the screen there. Very cringy tweet. And Adam Schefter basically saying there's no way that Sacramento State has $50 million in NIL and that Shefty should check his sources. And Shefty clapped back very quickly with, here's my facts that they have $50 million in NIL. And by the way, maybe you should stop worrying about social media and worry about your basketball team who's lost 8 straight and is 0-whatever in the Horizon League. And so after that, then the video surfaced of Doug Gottlieb coming out and saying this about their opponent they were about to just play.
Nobody. And part of the reason I want to play better teams is like, it's 2 degrees outside, it's snowing. Like, I don't really like the idea of nobody you coming in here and like, I always thought, like, what do we learn playing a game where we win by 20? But there's a methodology to it.
Michigan Tech, baby.
Then this was him after the game.
Yeah, well, I didn't see this.
The first thing is Michigan Tech's a good basketball team.
Nobody you.
To talk for 2 minutes about how good Marcus Tomaszek, who put up 30 on their ass, was, and how good Michigan Tech was. That's a good basketball team, and we have injuries, and that's why we lost to Division II Michigan Tech. The guy's that's the biggest clown in sports right now. Never coached a day in his life, got a head coaching job in Division I, and not like he's some famous college basketball player. He's a fucking radio personality, okay? Nobody gives a shit.
He'll for sure be fired by the end of the year. Yeah, that was the nobody you comment and then the lose was just fantastic. Especially looked at the box score, they're up 12 at halftime. So just to fall apart and lose is just like, yeah, that's a really, really bad idea to have a radio show and coach a college basketball team. Really bad. You're going to have a lot of Dabo Sweeney moments from Trevor from Spartanville. And this is whatever his name, Trevor Greenville, is like,
what was
why don't you God, dude, that was one of my all-time favorite. I forgot what he said to him, but it was just like he's like a 12-year-old. He's yelling at a 12-year-old on the line.
Dude, he was losing. I'm about Tyler. It was Tyler from Spartanville.
Yeah.
Spartansville. I'm about Tyler. I'm about done listening to you, Tyler. I'm about done listening to you. You know, we won 3 national championships. All right, you guys want to appreciate. You guys want to talk about all the bad. Why don't you appreciate what we done here?
Is Dabo Sweeney still refusing to do transfer portal stuff?
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just so delusional. It's just. Let's go over to best thing we saw this week. Do you have a best thing you saw this week?
Yep. Best thing I saw this week was Charlie Woods hole-in-one playing with the old man in the PNC tournament.
What is that again?
So they do it's father-son or mother-son. It's just, they play a 2-man scramble. I think Nelly Corda plays in it with like her dad. I can't remember who it's. So basically, you get one pro, right? And then like your son or grandson, whoever it is.
Can you pick anybody you want?
Yeah, just like a family member,
Yeah.
whatever.
That's like the one John Daly and his son won it a couple years back, right?
They won it. And then anyway, Tiger Woods and them went into a playoff and lost to Bernhard Langer. And then I think his grandson, they've won it like, I don't know what they said, 3 or 4 times, but Charlie Woods hole-in-one was pretty funny. And then the next, like after he gets a hole-in-one, Tiger's just needling him. Here's the video.
Right here. Sorry, Alex, I had to
Really
turn it a
good
little
contact.
bit.
This is a great looking shot if it's the right number.
Oh, it is the right number.
Heck of a shot.
The celebration is great too. He's like, yeah, Tiger realizes it.
At the 4th. And guess what? His father was actually not watching.
Yeah. What a shot. Yeah, the celebration was great. And the next hole was hilarious. Tiger was needling and telling him, he's like, oh, dude, that's going to be, you're in real trouble. That's going to be an expensive bar tab for that hole-in-one. And Charlie's like, I'm broke. He's like, imagine what John Daly's going to do in there, like messing with him. But, yeah, pretty awesome moment. You could tell how fired up Tiger was. After the round, he was like, that was the most fun I've ever had in my life playing golf with him today.
That's
that
pretty
hole-in-one.
cool.
And in the press conference, he made the hole-in-one. He's 15, and Tiger was like, yeah, it's about time I had my first one when I was 6.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
dude. Coming up in that guy's footsteps, dear Lord.
Yeah. And I saw you were talking about. I wonder what the relationship's like with the ex-wife. She was there and gave him a hug after the round, like they were all sitting there talking. Yeah. She was there. Yeah, watching
I'm surprised.
watching the whole deal. So
I guess she's there to watch.
Yeah.
obviously, Charlie,
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go best thing I saw this week, and we're gonna go to a video here. We're gonna go to. It was gonna be in my 2-minute drill, but I just decided to make this best thing I saw this week. So Valparaiso, Valpo basketball. They're known for that Scott Drew legendary shot in the tournament where he caught it from the length of the court and banged a 3 at the buzzer. That's what they're known for. So they're taking on Western Michigan, and they were down in the. Well, let's roll the tape here. If it'll play. Okay, so they're down in the second half. 22 with 6:51 to go. You can see here their win probability for Western Michigan was 99.9%. All right. And then Cooper Schweiger is about to take over here. He bangs a 3. All right. And they're going to start this comeback. And Schweiger's going to go inside again. He's going to get a bucket again. And they're going to start chipping away. Western Michigan, though, going to come right back and get an and 1. Gets the lead right back to 19.
I don't know how you can come back in college basketball.
But that man, Cooper Schweiger, he's a badass. And he scores again. And then he's going to go again and spin inside and score again.
Old man's game,
Old man game. Schweiger with the putback. And 1. Schweiger starts lighting it up, baby. Knocks in the free throw because that guy hadn't missed a free throw since Nam. All right, we're down to 12 now. Now, this right here, this is Justice McNair. Justice spelled Justus, but that is justice that went in because that man is the truth. And that guy is taking over the game. Justice again inside. Look at the floater. Throws it up, somehow goes in. We got an 8-point game here, folks, with 3 minutes to go. Now, Western Michigan going to come down. Blocked again. McNair the other way. 3 minutes to go. McNair, it's basically all McNair and Schweiger. And some of these shots, I don't know how they're going in, but they are going in. It's a 6-point game. You think that at this point...
I would have called timeout right there, by the way.
Yeah. They're going to get a dunk here. They're back to 8.
All right.
Okay, they stem the bleeding. 2 minutes to go, but Cooper gets fouled, and of course Schweiger. I mean, that guy's a pure shooter. He got fouled on a 3, actually, so he's going to nail all 3. Now it's a 5-point game. We're still under 2 minutes to go, though. You have the ball in a 5-point game. And let's work some clock, right? Take your time. Get this down. We're up 5, or we can just drive and throw up a wild shot with 20 seconds on the shot clock. Ball is loose, and here comes Valpo the other way. And McNair, Justice, the truth,
shot,
bangs it home. It's a 2-point game with 1:24 to go.
They're 2 absolute dog shit teams, too.
I mean, this is great basketball. Hey, let's slow it down or just launch another deep corner 3. And it's going to be a foul on Valpo. So they get 2 shots. This guy's an 80% free throw shooter. And he clanks both of them. And guess who on the rebound? That's Justice right there. And here comes Valpo with a chance to tie or take the lead. And that they do. Inside, lays it up and in. And we got a tie ball game, folks. 73-all. So let's go to the last possession now. Western Michigan has the ball with the shot clock off. The shot clock is off with 15 seconds, and they're going to hold for the last shot. Or are they? No, because they haven't done that the entire game. And so they're going to launch a 3 with 7 seconds to go. And not only is it going to miss, Justice McNair's spot there for the rebound, and look at Justice. Bang! Knocks it in at the buzzer, and Valpo.
That was fucking crazy that he made that.
Goes nuts. Justice McNair, the truth, knocks it in. One of the crazier comebacks and finishes, because it was not just the comeback, but it's the comeback plus the half-court buzzer beater for the game winner from Valpo. But that was the best thing I saw this week.
That was a very impressive comeback.
Okay, quickly, I'll go to Brookie of the week, and I think we're going to use the same Brookie.
Yeah, you go ahead. You can.
I'll do it, and you can touch on it,
I don't
too.
even know the guy's name, but I can tell you this: he was a hell of a performance.
So, Smithson Valley High School has never won a state championship. They're from the San Antonio area. Technically, they're Spring Branch, but they're the San Antonio greater San Antonio area. And so, Cade Spradling actually was in my AP World History class a couple years ago. Cade Spradling, he is the quarterback of Smithson Valley and also the starting linebacker. So he's the starting quarterback, starting linebacker.
It's a great combo, by the way. That's, back when I was playing football in the 6th grade. That's what the kids do back in the 6th grade. Quarterback, linebacker, but usually it doesn't go all the way through high school.
And if it does, it's usually at the 2A level or the 3A level. It's very rarely do you see this at the 5A Division I level. But of course, Cade Spradling playing both ways, quarterback and linebacker. All right. And last year, Smithson Valley was in the state championship game. The dude was playing linebacker and running back. And I think had 100 yards as a running back in the championship last game. He's a do-it-all guy. Anyway, Cade and Smithson Valley go in there. Again, Smithson Valley head coach Larry Hill, 32nd year, never won a state title. This was the 5th time he had been there. And they were down 14-6 actually early. A big pick 6 swung the game. But Cade Spradling was the MVP of this game. He won the MVP, or the offensive MVP. I'm surprised he didn't win offense and defense. Regardless, he had 200 yards plus combined rushing and passing, 2 touchdowns, including the game-sealing touchdown late. He was beaten, bloodied, battered. I mean, literally, he had a slice on his leg. He was bleeding down his leg. His jersey was ripped. I swear to you, he got a damn concussion.
May or may have not been concussed. Yeah.
Allegedly was concussed in the first quarter.
It legitimately looked like a Friday Night Light scene, like a classic, a movie about Texas high school football. It's like, this kid plays quarterback and linebacker, and he's in the whole game. He's got a concussion. He's lost a pint of blood out there playing. It's very impressive.
It looked like his fingers broke into the side.
Yeah.
He had blood dripping down his finger.
Yeah.
I mean, cuts all over his body. He was just balling out there, gritty performance. And despite everybody but one pundit in the high school media picking Highland Park, Smithson Valley on the back of Cade Spradling, and that's not to discredit anything. Larry Hill did a great job, and the defense and everybody played a role, obviously, but Cade was the MVP for a reason, because he's a dog, and he is our Brookie of the week, well-deserved. Turner's not even going to give one, because we decided that it was too good of a performance to have 2 Brookies this week. Cade Spradling, Brookie of the week.
Really was.
Impressive.
You should mail that trophy to him, by the way. Get that to him. That
the
would
Brookie?
be,
I should give this to him?
Yeah, you can hang that in the... Put that up with all the rest of his awards.
I'm sure that would be a meaningful one to him.
Well, I mean, it's far more important. I can promise.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
yes, I agree.
If you've ever met that dog, you would know how important that award was.
I was trying to make an AI version of the trophy online yesterday, but
that's funny.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the NFL. Let's talk some NFL, and we'll Well,
How about them Cowboys?
That's what we're gonna do first.
Of course.
How about this? How about we're gonna start with the recap, and we'll kind of run through this, and then we can go to the playoff picture.
That's far
and
more.
kinda,
That's,
so we'll run through these games, and then we'll talk about the playoff picture. But let's go start with the Dallas Cowboys. So last night they're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They find out midday that they are eliminated from playoff contention after Washington takes down Philadelphia. I don't actually know exactly how that worked. Maybe they needed Washington to lose out to have a shot. Regardless, the Cowboys are eliminated. And it's like, I saw a bunch of memes online, and it's true. It's like the Dallas Cowboys when they've been eliminated from playoff contention, and it's just like a clip of Tom Brady with Randy Moss walking out. Because it's like, once we have nothing to play for, we've won 4 of 5. And honestly, if you take away one idiotic special teams blunder a week ago or 2 weeks ago versus the Bengals, the Cowboys would have won 5 consecutive games because they were going to win that game. They're getting the ball back with 2.5 minutes.
Cooper Rush, what a player.
Cooper Rush, 94
Team plays
as a
hard
starter.
for him.
So
Mike had the boys ready to play.
So he did. They should have won 5 in a row, but they've won 4 of 5. And to Mike's credit, they've been playing really hard lately. And look, it's an important point. You said it last night. The Cowboys are look like they're playing harder for Cooper Rush, right, than they do for Dak Prescott. I mean, look at a guy like CeeDee Lamb last night. 7 to 8 weeks ago, he's on the sideline telling Dak Prescott he's fucking worthless and, he's a bum. Last night, he takes a hit on that shoulder. We both thought maybe he broke his collarbone. I mean, that 5 weeks ago, he's done. He's like, I'm out for the game. He comes back 2 plays later after they say he's questionable.
Yeah, playing hard in a game that doesn't matter.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's bizarre. They play far, far harder for Cooper Rush. It's a simple fact. I mean, I think it's just human nature. Like when you're in, whether you want to have jealousy or not, it's a fact that it's like, okay, I'm playing right now. This guy, when Dak Prescott's in the game, he sucks. And I don't know if it's an attitude deal for Dak or what, but he just wasn't playing his best football this year, just in general, obviously, right? But it's like, it's so much harder when a guy that is making $60 million and you say, oh, well, they're pros, it shouldn't matter. And really, it shouldn't. But guys that are like CeeDee Lamb or whoever it may be, they're like, you're telling me this guy, we paid this guy $60 million and this is the way he's playing, and you bring in Cooper Rush, by who all accounts is just a good dude that's going out there and playing as hard as he can. And like I said, the reason they win with him is because it seems like they play harder. The game plan is he takes what the defense gives him. I know he frustrates you and your dad sometimes where he's not throwing it down. He's just checking the ball down.
Dude, he doesn't frustrate me. That's my dad.
Yeah, but he just doesn't throw interceptions. He just doesn't do it. He's not going to turn over the ball. He'll take a sack and they'll punt. The defense is playing worlds better than they were earlier in the year. So, and I mean, you know me, I don't give a shit about the Cowboys either way, but it's just funny being a neutral party and looking at it, and it's like, this looks like a completely different team. It's like there seems to be some, the team seems to be getting along on the sidelines. Everybody's playing hard for each other. You got Dak Prescott dancing up in the box in between, it's like, life's pretty good for Dak, still making his whatever.
He doesn't care.
$60 million a year. He doesn't care. Yeah, I don't know what the solution is, but for Cowboys fans that want Mike McCarthy gone, things are getting dicey because, I mean, if they win the rest of their games, it's Jerry Jones. You have a feeling he's going to keep them. So
I will say this.
I don't know.
I will say this. I don't hate Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
I don't think he was a phenomenal hire. I think that this job, and they were kind of talking about this last night, it's such a unique job because you think about the prestige of the job, and from that perspective, who wouldn't want it? And so if there's an opening in that job, you would think everybody would go for it. And yet you have Ben Johnson sitting on deck, and I think neither of us think he's going there, right? Who is the hottest head coaching prospect in a while in the NFL. And I think none of us think he's going there. Why? Because although it is prestigious, and although it is the job of the NFL, of the highest league, in football, it still comes with Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones isn't just an annoying owner you have to deal with. He's a guy who's sitting in on team meetings and coming in the locker room after games and doing all of this shit that a lot of owners would not do. He's the damn GM of the team. And so, to me, it's a hard job to have already. And then you have Jerry Jones this year specifically, right? Essentially, just gutting not filling the roster the way they needed to, right? Just the offensive line is depleted with young guys, the 6th lowest paid defense in the NFL. I mean, just pathetic job by Jerry Jones. I think that's a known thing at this point. So it's hard to point the finger. My point is, it's hard to point the finger just at Mike McCarthy and say, oh, this season is his fault. Because now you look at, well, he's got nobody to work with now, and they're winning damn games. And they're not beating bad teams, right? They just beat the Bucs, right? They beat the Commanders a couple weeks ago in Washington. Okay, they've beaten some good teams, some playoff football teams.
Yeah.
The problem is, if you go back and go away from recency bias, as good as he's been at times in the regular season, and Dak had his best season ever on Mike McCarthy's offense last year, right? Kellen Moore leaves. He takes over the offense. Dak has his MVP-like season. But once again, you have a combined 2 guys, and it just comes down to what your goal is. You have 2 guys who, in the playoffs, come up short time and time again. Mike McCarthy has 1 Super Bowl back long ago when Aaron Rodgers was in his prime. Take that Super Bowl away, and him and Dak Prescott have been horrible in the playoffs. And we've seen it under Mike and under Dak with Dallas. That's what's happened. And it's been frustrating ending the season, which is why, despite 3 straight 12-5 seasons, everybody's like, yeah, he's on the hot seat this year. And now he has a losing season. I just don't understand, if he was on the hot seat, you didn't extend him, how you extend him now.
Yeah, I would agree. My thing was, I thought he kind of like lost locker room early on. I was like, oh, this is a dumpster fire. He's lost locker room. But literally, it seems like it's a Dak Prescott issue. To me, from the outside looking in, and I don't listen to any Cowboys radio talk or anything like your dad. I have no idea. But from the outside looking in, it's like, those guys are playing really hard. It seems like they're having a good time playing football. Micah Parsons was distraught when they lost to the Bengals the other day, and that guy, touched the ball on the punt, the special teams gaff. He looks like he really cares. I don't know what the deal is, because in the media and stuff, it doesn't seem like they really, and Micah Parsons would never say, it on his podcast or whatever, like, oh, I don't fuck with Dak or whatever. Like,
yeah,
they seem like they don't have a real problem with them. It just seems like it's very nonchalant when they're there, and it's like they almost don't care about winning. I don't know, but it's weird, because I always forget that. I know the Cowboys, blew it in the playoffs last year and got smoked, but it really is hard when you think about Mike McCarthy going 12, because he went 12-5 back-to-back, right? Or 3 times in a row?
3 straight years.
Yeah. So, I think
it was 12-4, 12-5, 12-5.
Like you said, so then becomes, okay, if we don't get Ben Johnson, then what do we do?
Right.
Because it's like, he was 12-5. They seem to be playing hard for him now. Maybe the guys do like him, right? Who knows? But, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is for the Cowboys. When you look at that roster, it's not good enough to win a Super Bowl anyway, right? So it's like, if that guy is going 12-5, are you going to go hire someone else and it's going to turn out much better? Probably not, when you really think about it.
Right.
Unless you can go get the offensive mind like Ben Johnson, go get him. Are you going to go get Brian Nagy? You're going to go get Nagy from the, from the Chiefs? So to me, at this point, it looks like. And I like jokingly say this. I'm like, oh, they're moving forward with Mike. But it's like, at this point, I think I think they might just keep him, because unless they can get unless they can confirm they can get Ben Johnson, and he's like, this is the offense I'm going to work with. But the more I think about that, I think he is going to go to the Bears.
That's what I said yesterday.
Yeah, the more you think about it, it's like, that makes the most sense. You have a young quarterback. If he thinks that, and then people will tell you, Gruden talks about it, it's like, the defense isn't playing well, but when you really look at the defense on paper, they're talented. So it's like they've given up on the season, but I think he ultimately ends up there. I'll tell you this, he's kicking himself now that he didn't go to Washington and take that job with Daniels. That would have been nasty watching him do that offense with him.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, I think he didn't know for sure that they were going to get him, and then obviously the ownership, stuff and whatever there. But yeah,
he should have gone there. But I think the thing about that was, I believe that a lot of NFL guys didn't believe Jayden Daniels was that guy. Like, they thought at college he was, and you and I have been on this train since back when Jayden Daniels was at LSU. We thought he was better than Caleb Williams. I thought Drake May was better than Caleb Williams too, which, to be honest, it's been the case so far this year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Drake May looks, I think, way better right now.
He looks awesome.
And he's doing it with way less.
Less.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's why I didn't take it. But I agree. My thing is, there's no way we're getting Ben Johnson, in my opinion, because if you heard what Ben Johnson said, he was like, I want a place with like open communication and like willingness to admit where mistakes were made in the past and all this shit. That's
He's such a cocky little fucker too, because the way he said that deal is like, well, I'm gonna need the owners and GMs to admit to their mistakes in the past, like they're gonna repent to them to come there. I'm just like, what does this guy think he is? Like, he's got a good offense going in Detroit, and let me tell you something. He's got a good offense in Detroit, and I think it will work other places. I don't think it's only going to work there. I don't think it's as gimmicky as Mike McDaniels. Like, he runs the ball a lot in that offense, whatever. But they're loaded on offense, and Jared Goff can make the easy throws. I mean, when you have Montgomery, Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Laporta, who's a top 5 in the league, and the best offensive line in the league, it's pretty easy to score points.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's like you're ultimately going to a significantly worse offense and with worse weapons no matter where you go. So, yes, now that Lions group wasn't that great to start, but it's not like Ben Johnson has developed a lot of those guys. He has done a good job of putting them in places to succeed. He's been phenomenal. I'm not shitting on Ben Johnson. I think he's awesome, and I would hire him if I had my choice of hiring a coach. I'm hiring Ben Johnson. Yeah. But I just think, I agree, there is a little bit of cockiness to him, and it's like, look, I've seen a lot of guys in this league. Look at Brian Daboll. I mean, and I know Brian Daboll didn't do it as long, but he was the hottest thing since, sliced bread in Buffalo with Josh Allen for 2 years as the OC, and look what's happened in New York. So it's situational. It always is, and we'll see where he goes. I think you're right. I think it's probably the Bears. If the Bengals were to open, which looks like it's probably not going to, and he could come to some agreement with that owner and get the amount of money he wanted and had control like he would like, that I think he would go to Burrow for sure over Chicago. But yeah. I feel like more than likely he's going to end up with Chicago. Then again, I also think he's he said something the other day of like talking up Caleb Williams and stuff, and I think he puts these things out there on purpose for certain like leverage thing. Like, I really want to come here, but I can only do it if it's Yeah. And so I don't know. I just think that's the case there. Quickly, and we're gonna come back to the playoffs in a second. But the Bucs, that was a bad loss for them last night because they dropped to 8-7 and they dropped into a tie with the Atlanta Falcons who won yesterday. And so
I'm still gonna go. And I know they have to basically win out because Atlanta owns a tiebreaker against them with the last two, but they finished with Carolina and New Orleans. And Atlanta still has to go to the Commanders, correct?
So that's the key game, right? Yeah. So if the Commanders can beat Atlanta this week in Washington, which, here's the thing, that is still a meaningful game for Washington. I think they've clinched it doesn't say they've clinched a wild card, but it sounds like everybody else got eliminated. So I don't know if they have. Maybe Atlanta is the team that could still make the wild card if like they won out and Washington lost out. But regardless, I think Atlanta more than likely is going to lose that game, especially with Michael Penix Jr. going on the road for the first time against the Commanders.
Yeah.
Barring something weird happening. I don't know what that line is, but I'm sure it's probably, I would guess Commanders at home is 6, something 5 or 6.
Yeah, against Penix, probably something like that. I have no idea.
We can move on to a different game.
I think anyway.
What?
I'm just going to go on a limb and say I think Tampa wins the next two. I think they end up winning.
They have an easier road.
Yeah, I mean, with New Orleans, who's basically trying to, of course, Rizzy's not trying to lose, but everybody else is trying to lose in New Orleans. So I think they're going to end up winning both those games. With Penix and Atlanta, I don't think they're going to beat Washington, but I could still very easily, the last game of the year, see them lose to Carolina, and Carolina trying to play spoilers as their, Super Bowl. They would like to do that. Carolina
played spoiler to me this week.
Yeah. Better lately, so
they've been playing much better. Bryce Young looks solid, really good yesterday again.
Yep.
But yeah, let's see what the line is on that game. So we would have Washington's only 4. Okay. Washington's only 4. Well, that game's Sunday night. That's a huge game. That's gonna be a fun Sunday night game next week.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on real quick, and we're going to break down the whole playoff picture here coming back. We'll kind of touch on it as we go through with some of these teams and the repercussions of the wins and the losses, but we're going to come back and talk about the full playoff picture at the end. So Commanders and Eagles, it was a thriller. It was the game of the day probably. Commanders were down 14-0 in this game. They led in the fourth quarter by 13, actually. But all of that, kind of the way this game went and how it played out, it all is kind of washed in the sense that Kenny Pickett was the quarterback for the Eagles because Jalen Hurts got a concussion in the first quarter. Now, the Eagles had scored a touchdown and gone up 7-0. They hadn't scored their second one. It wasn't like they were up 14-0. Hurts went out. Kenny Pickett actually finished the drive for the last 40 yards and threw a really good touchdown to put the Eagles up 14-0. But the offense was just stagnant at that point, largely because I believe Barkley had one more big run to put him back up 21-7. He had that 69-yard touchdown
Yeah,
run.
he busted a big run.
But besides that, they really did bottle him up. A lot of negative plays. They knew run was coming a lot of the time. And again, it was different where with Jalen Hurts, he can pull the ball. Kenny Pickett's not going to pull it and run, so it's a big. It's like what we talk about with Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers. Completely different thing to have to guard. It makes you often so much more dynamic. Regardless, the Eagles still should have won this game. The Eagles led 33-27. No, I'm sorry. It was so they were up by 2. They had to kick a field goal there because Devonta Smith had a horrific drop.
If he catches that, game's over, right?
Game's over.
Take a knee.
Take a knee. And instead, he drops an easy slant. It's actually funny. And I think the Eagles are not as good as everybody thinks. I think the defense showed yesterday that they're not as good as everybody thinks.
That happened twice, though, right? That happened in the game.
That's what I was about to say.
Was bitching. Was it against Atlanta or who was it?
It was against Atlanta. They were up, but they went for it. It was third down. They could have run it and basically took it down to 40 seconds, and they threw it to Barkley, and he dropped it.
That's right.
And it stopped the clock, and then Atlanta went down and scored and kicked the extra point 1-1.
Yep.
So the Eagles realistically could have one loss this year if they didn't drop 2 easy passes. But regardless, more than likely, let me go back to the game. Jayden Daniels was phenomenal. 258, 5 touchdowns, 80 yards rushing. He leads the game-winning drive, throws the game-winning touchdown. The last drive was 9 plays, 57 yards, and a minute 50 through the game-winning touchdown to Jamison Crowder with 6 seconds to go.
It was a good drive going down the field. That game, obviously, there's a lot of moments. Devonta Smith catches the ball, game over. The big one, which we thought they should punt, it's 4th and 11 from midfield, at the end of the third quarter, and we were like, why don't they just punt? Kenny Pickett, they haven't gotten anything going. They'll get it and score with 8 minutes to go instead of right now, and they got a big 4th and 11. Jayden Daniels took off for 30 or 40 yards down the field. Yeah. But if they didn't get that was also the game. If they give the ball back to them at midfield, probably 13-point game or 10 at that point.
It was doubled. I think it was 13.
Yeah. So anyway,
that was
rolled the dice, got the first down, and then scored, and then that was a
that was in
game.
The third quarter, wasn't that?
The last play of the third quarter.
Yeah, last play of the third quarter, down 2 scores, and it wasn't like they were at the 30-yard line and couldn't kick a field. They went for that from the 45. It was game over if they didn't get it. Crazy play. Implications for this game. The Eagles cost themselves the number 1 overall seed more than likely. We're going to get into it, but they had a legitimate path, had they won this game, to get the 1 seed, which involved Minnesota having to lose next week to Green Bay and then beating Detroit the last week. But it was a path. It was not impossible. And now they're a 5% to get the number 1 overall seed. The Commanders have all but clinched a wild card spot, holding on to that final wild card spot. Basically, they eliminated the Seahawks, Rams, Falcons, Bucs, and Cowboys yesterday with that win. The Commanders could still win the division, but the Eagles would have to lose to the Giants and the Cowboys back-to-back to end the season, and the Commanders would have to win both of their games. So unlikely that's going to happen. Let's go through the other games real quickly. Thursday Night Football, we saw it on the 2-minute drill. Chargers come back. What's your take on that game? Chargers were down. Looked like they were going to get blown out. It was 21-10. Broncos had the ball. We had the free kick happen before halftime. The Broncos had a little momentum, cut it to a 1-score game, and then Herbert goes off in the second half, plays phenomenal, despite having no receivers. Take on that game?
I'm trying to remember. I remember the field goal at the end. That was Thursday. We've watched a lot of football since then. Field goal since then.
They hit the field goal, and then in the second half.
Yeah, 34-27. Yeah, I remember watching that game.
In the second half, the Chargers basically sealed control, took control
they scored
of the game.
3 straight touchdowns. Yeah, they started dominating the game.
And Herbert ended up with, I think, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he was awesome in that game. Gus Edwards had a couple touchdowns as well.
Our boy, friend of the program, Bo Nix, Big Dog's boy, had a great game too. 29 of 40, 263,
That's a great
2 touchdowns.
game.
Yeah, please, rookie.
That's a great game.
I'm actually really happy that different subject entirely, but I even got Estime on my taxi squad. He looks good. 9 carries, 50 yards, and a touchdown. He's going to be good next year.
Yeah, he's a good player.
They're getting rid of Javonte. Will be gone here shortly.
Are you concerned with the Chargers defense? We talked about this. We watched the first half of this game together.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've gotten way worse. I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know. I didn't watch closely a ton of the second half of this game. but they only gave up, I believe, 2 field goals the entire second half. So they did make some good adjustments. Do you think that that's a problem, or do you think that they just because to me, really, if you look at this Chargers defense, where they had their biggest issues was basically 2 separate halves that like almost carried over. Like they played the Bucs, right? If you look at it before that, they had given up 13 to the Falcons, 19 at Kansas City. They played really good. And then against the Bucs in the first half, Tampa Bay had 13 points. It was just like an average half against a pretty good offense. And then they just exploded with 27 in the second half, blew them out. And then the Broncos, same thing. Broncos had 21 in the first half, 6 in the second half. Is it just a fact that they got kind of torched and got lost in that second half against Tampa, and it was a hangover into this game on a short week? Or is there actually concern that this Chargers defense isn't what we thought it was, which is what we thought it was a top 5 unit, or what I thought it was a top 5 unit in the NFL?
You know, it's so hard to tell in the NFL, man. Some of these teams just have, like you said, maybe a carryover, and it's just like, 2 really bad halves, because the rest of the year they've looked really good. I mean, look at Denver's defense too, right? I mean, they were shutting everybody down, and then they get Jameis Winston putting up, what was that game he scored? He threw for like 400 yards.
500 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And it should have been 5 touchdowns.
And like most people thought Denver had the best secondary in the league. So just there's games like that in the NFL.
Jerry Jeudy had 235.
Yeah, I think you have to just look at the resume over the course of the season and not just lately. You would have to look at injuries too, right? I'm not too sure. But the problem with the Chargers in my mind is less with the defense, and there's just not enough weapons on offense, right? McConkey's been great. I think he's going to be a very, very good receiver the rest of his career, or like a very reliable guy. They need a big time, like a Pickens or somebody on the outside.
He's not going to be a number 1 outside guy.
Yeah.
He's a really good inside slot. You can line him up at different spots.
A great number 2 receiver.
Yeah.
He can be. He's just not your big play down the field number 1. I mean, the
like,
footwork, if you put him in the slot, he's almost uncoverable. But yeah, he's just not a big play, tall, down the field receiver. So once Herbert gets that, and I don't know who they'll go get, or they'll draft somebody. Obviously, Quentin Johnson's not the answer. So
your boy,
my boy, baby, drafted him in our dynasty league. But the big issue for me is not that defense. Like right now, they're matched up against Pittsburgh. And do I think they'll go into Pittsburgh and win that game? Probably not. They could. But then the next game, they're going to play the Bills and just get throttled in Buffalo if they play them. So, I mean, it's just, I think overall, obviously Harbaugh's done a great job. They're 9-6, right? What were they last year? 5-12 or something
horrible.
Just terrible. So, yeah, he's done a really good job. He'll turn them around. And I think there are maybe a couple pieces on defense and 1 big play receiver on offense away from being like a legitimate Super Bowl contender with Herbert. So.
Yeah, he's damn good. Yeah, I'm trying to look what they were last year. They were 5-12.
Thought that's what I remember seeing.
Yeah, 5-12. Lost 8 of their last 9 games. I agree with everything you said. I think the Chargers. Although the only thing I disagree with is they will beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh if that's the game they play. Because,
they certainly could. It's it's a coin toss game, but Mike Tomlin's ready
because
he's poised to win his first.
Has not won a playoff game in 2,899 days.
Never had a losing record.
We're up 101 days until we hit the 3,000 mark. So if he loses, actually, it's going to come down to whether he wins one this year. If we hit the 3,000 mark or not in terms of day consecutive
just have
days.
A new appreciation for Mike Tomlin this year and those guys.
Tomlin.
What that franchise gets done.
Mike Tomlin and the boys kind of
go. The Roonies do a hell of a job up in
some of these games. Kind of quickly, let's run through them. We got Chiefs down the Texans 27-19. There was a lot of talk about officiating in that game and how badly one side of the officiating was in the Chiefs game. I didn't notice it because I was paying more attention to the high school game and to the football, to the college playoff.
Yeah.
But apparently the officiating was extremely one-sided for the Chiefs. What a shocker. But the Texans already won the division, so this game really doesn't matter too much for them. They're probably going to be the 4 seed, more than likely. There's a chance they could be the 3. Does it really matter? Probably not, because they're going to play the. Let's see, who are the wild cards? Chargers, Broncos, and who's the other wild card?
The Texans haven't played right now. It's Baltimore's the 5.
Then it does matter. But here's the thing: if Baltimore ends up winning that division and they get Pittsburgh, is Pittsburgh if getting Pittsburgh at home versus getting the Chargers at home much different? Probably not.
I would rather play the Steelers, probably.
That's what I agree. I'm just saying I don't think there's like some massive difference to where
not a
this
huge
is
difference.
a huge loss or anything.
I mean, the Texans, look, I don't know how the Texans are possibly going to win a playoff game with how bad the offensive line is. Then they just lost Tank Dell, who blew his knee out. Which,
What did they say exactly what that was?
No, I don't know what it was. It was nasty though. So I would be shocked if they beat anybody in the playoffs, honestly. But I hope they do.
I don't think they're beating anybody, and I think C.J. Stroud
hasn't been good. That's
he's
for
been
sure.
really bad this year. I like C.J. Stroud. I don't want to shit on him, but he's just not been good. I mean, it's been how many weeks of this now, right? Like, it's just week after week after week of the same thing. I understand he has a bad offensive line. A lot of quarterbacks have a bad offensive line and don't look that bad at times. I mean,
yeah, he's really interesting to me because I think there's something, and who knows what's going on in his personal life, but there's something going on because he looks like he cares far less about the games and what's going on than and then Tank Dell went down and he was inconsolable on the sideline, and they're really close apparently, but it's and then after that, then he was just really checked out of the game. I mean, they didn't do anything the rest of the game. They scored after that play. I don't think they scored any points. Yeah. So maybe made a field goal or something. But yeah, I don't know what his deal is, but he does not look like he's playing the game with the same passion he was last year. So
yeah,
who knows?
QBR's down almost 8 points this year. His passer rating's down 13 points. He's been sacked 9 more times through 2 less games. He also has thrown 6 more interceptions. He had 23 touchdowns, 5 picks last year, 19 touchdowns, 11 picks this year. So he's going to more than likely throw less touchdowns and double the interceptions than he did from last year. It's a big step down. Again, well, actually, I take it back. He only played 15 games last year, so that actually shows exactly the difference between the two. So he has thrown 4 less touchdowns and 6 more picks.
I mean, the one thing I will say...
And 700 less yards.
Oh, yeah. The one thing I will say is, well, he's got, 2 games left, so he'll probably get
I'm saying
300.
Oh,
at this point?
They both, because he only played 15 total games last year, it says right here. So this would be the exact time that he was at. His completion percentage is the same. Yards down 700. Yards per pass down a full 1.1. And then all the stats I just read.
Yeah,
I mean,
like I said, I think there's definitely something going on. To defend them a little, offensive line sucks. Like you said, people do better things behind, worse offensive lines. There's no doubt. But then losing Diggs, obviously, and then not having Nico for I think there was 4 games where he didn't have either of those guys, and then you're really doing it with nobody out there. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's just a sophomore slump, especially for my sake, because I have him in my dynasty.
Yeah,
league,
kidding. Well, either way, you got rid of Trevor Lawrence, so you got to win there either way.
Don't cut down Trevor.
C.J. Stroud could just bust after this and still be a win for you.
Cut down Trevor.
Poor Trevor. He's
Can't
probably
believe I had to let him go.
He probably has a soft brain now at this point out like Tua, where it's just every time he gets hit, he's going to be full. You know what? Anyway.
No, I don't. Elaborate.
Ravens spank the Steelers 34-17. Speaking of Mike Tomlin, Steelers averaging less than 20 points per game the last 3 outings since George Pickens went out. The offense is growing stale. Russell Wilson hasn't been as good. And the Steelers now somehow still hold the lead in the division by a narrow margin. If they win out, they actually get the division. So they hold the tiebreaker, even though they split with the Ravens.
Yeah.
But
is Pickens coming back this week?
I have no idea.
That team is just night and day different with Pickens. Because Pickens can take the top off the defense where you actually have to respect it. They have nobody else that can do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, without him, it's just the field is very, very condensed for them. And it's much, much tougher to move the ball. And, Pickens is good for a couple 15-yard penalties a game, but they need him out there for sure.
They just need him to make the offense more dynamic. Chiefs are who the Steelers have. They get them at home on Christmas on Wednesday. So that's a big game. And then they play the Bengals at home the last game of the year. They have to win both of those to probably seal the division because I don't think Baltimore is going to lose either of their games.
I'm really happy the NFL is giving us football on Christmas again. We don't have to watch the NBA.
I know. Well, we do get the Spurs.
I'm going to watch
morning.
The Spurs early, in the morning. Watch Wemby, who's been playing like a monster.
Unbelievable. Okay, running through some more of these. Lions dominate the Bears. The Bears are a travesty. The Lions offense looks fine. The defense was okay yesterday. Caleb threw for 300 yards, but it was all garbage time.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell, I don't understand. This is the only thing I really have from this game. I do not understand what the fuck is wrong with Dan Campbell. I love Dan Campbell. I really do. I think he's awesome.
Fake news.
No, I love Dan Campbell. I really like Dan Campbell. I don't understand, and you agree with this 100%. You have more injuries than any team in the NFL. You just lost You're starting. You have a two-headed monster at running back, and you just lost half of the two-headed monster for the year in Montgomery. And with a minute to go or 2 minutes to go in the game, it's a 17-point game against the Chicago Bears. The game is dead over. It's 100% over. It's not like the Valparaiso where it's 99.9%. It's 100%. And he has Jahmyr Gibbs out there carrying the ball and taking hits. I do not understand it.
They signed up for 60 minutes.
No.
They signed
Campbell,
up for 60.
The Lions signed up for 60.
They signed up for 60.
Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't need to be in for 60, okay? It's crazy.
Listen, dude.
What is he doing? What is he doing?
He's trying to get his margin of victory up.
What is he doing? I don't understand. Bills.
So wait, one question.
Yeah.
Has Detroit played Philly this year? Did they beat them?
We'll come back in a second.
Okay,
We're
because
gonna
I was
do the
going
whole
to say,
playoff picture.
if Detroit wins, and they can just rest everybody the last week, I assume.
So they can't. I'll tell you why. Bills.
Because the Vikings.
Bills escaped the Patriots 24-21. Drake May plays extremely well again. He had that backwards pass. They were only down by 3. They actually were up 14-0. Blew the lead through that backwards pass.
It's such a stupid. It really
wasn't his fault.
It really is a stupid play to just throw the ball. Like, if you're going to throw those, it's the same way where they stop doing handoffs and the quarterback tosses it. So if someone fucks it up and you drop it, it's incomplete. Like, you should never throw the ball backwards, ever, especially when it's in Buffalo and it's windy and it's 20 degrees. You don't throw the ball backwards to a running back that's not known to catch. That's not what he's good. He runs the ball between the tackles. Ramondre Stevenson is not a guy you throw the ball to backwards in 20-degree weather. That was
what a call.
Never go forward. That was
there it is. There it is. Yeah, no, that was full R word. It was recovered for a touchdown. That basically ended the game. The Patriots were in it the whole way. They were winning most of the game. Josh Allen did not have a great game. 16 for 29, a $154 and an interception. I know, he's allowed to have a bad game, but he threw some balls that made it look like old Josh Allen. The thing about him that worries me, and maybe this was a good thing for it to happen to him, is like if he just has that one game in the playoffs with how this team looks, like it doesn't even have to be as bad as he was yesterday. If he's just not Superman, I don't know if they beat the Chiefs. I don't know if they beat the Ravens. I don't know if they beat a good football team if he's not Superman. So, hopefully that snapped him out of it and it's like, hey, I can't throw. I can be myself without throwing the triple coverage balls. Like some of his throws they could have been 3 interceptions yesterday. It was just
He's weird. I think his mindset changes, which it shouldn't, like when they're behind, and they were behind when he was making those throws, right? And it's like, didn't they go down, was it 10-0 or
14.
something? Yeah. So they went down 14-0. It's like, oh shit, I got to make a play instead of just taking, trusting that your team's way better than the Patriots and you'll come back if you just do the things you've been doing week by week. But it seems like that was trying to get it all back on a couple plays.
That worries me for the playoffs. If they can't, what if they get down? I mean, what if they get down early? So
certainly good.
Raiders, we're not going to spend time on this, but the Raiders win 24-19 over the Jags, but they really lose because they drop 3 spots in the draft order by winning that game and possibly lose the rights to one of the quarterbacks that they could have drafted. So thank you, Antonio Pierce.
Oakland Raider football, baby.
You've lost 10 consecutive games, and then you're like, no, let's fucking win this game. They have to fire him. They have to. They absolutely have to fire him.
He's for sure getting
fired. He has to be fired.
Listen, out of all the people we've talked about, I'm telling you, there's a 0.0% chance that Antonio Pierce keeps his job. It's not going to happen. 0. But with Brady coming into the ownership and stuff, where he brought in a stake and he's making decisions and, behind the scenes and giving insight to, Davis, no, there's a 0% chance Antonio Pierce keeps his job. That experiment is over. 100%. There's no way. I don't know who they're going to go get, but it ain't going to be him. I could see Brady hiring Vrabel to come in and take that job. They're buddies. That could happen.
Who?
Mike Vrabel.
Oh yeah,
he come and take that job.
I think I heard they had on Pat McAfee's show last week. They had Dan Orlovsky on. I know he goes on there all the time, but they were asking about Vrabel, and he basically said, now who knows? Dan Orlovsky likes to do this and get attention, so who knows?
He stirs the pot.
He likes to stir the pot. But he's like, last time I was on here, I gave a prediction, or I gave out some information, and I got in trouble, so I'm not going to do that. But he goes, I'll just say that the writing is on, or like the plan is in place for Vrabel to go somewhere. Like he will be coaching football next year, and they're like, is it in college? And they think it's Ohio State. Is it in college? Oh, it is in college. So I think it's either A, the Raiders, or B, Ohio State. Those are the only 2 places he goes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And more than likely, actually, now that I really think about it, it probably is the Raiders, because if Ryan Day has to get fired for that to happen. And although I think he could, especially if they lose this game to Oregon, I wouldn't say it's 100% with a loss, and with a win, it's 100% not getting fired if they get to the semifinals. So, whereas I think Antonio Pierce, like you said, is more than likely gone. Anyway, okay, and the Raiders are so dumb. I mean, they must just not care who their quarterback is, because I know the Giants hold that number 1 spot, but there's a chance the Giants still lose. You just keep yourself in that spot as much as you want, as much as you can anyway. It's irrelevant. Especially if you're firing the coach, just fucking fire him and tell the other guy to lose. Although, like you said yesterday, he's done a pretty good job of fucking losing anyway.
I would have definitely fired him just for that simple fact, because although they've been losing the games for sure, most of those games have been like, don't get me wrong, they've been blown out, but some of them are like, 1-score, fairly competitive games, and the team is not good at all, obviously, but they're still like, I don't know what commentator said it, I forgot who it was, like, the Raiders are still playing hard. Like, it's like, say what you want about them. They're terrible, but they're still playing hard for Antonio Pierce. So for me, I would have fired them and pissed off the guys that were there and made sure they didn't win another game. And I'm certainly not starting O'Connell, because he makes, you make
Ritter the starter.
Yeah. Desmond Ritter makes O'Connell look like Tom Brady. So, you definitely put Ritter in there and you lose at all cost. And I know people that are like, oh, you don't know football. These are guys fighting for the job. I get that, but you can make the decision to make the team worse.
Yeah.
You put Ritter in there. You do some things where it's like, if you're a little banged up, you're not playing. Yeah, listen, I get that these guys are never going to absolutely throw the game, which is good. We don't want that, but there are ways to tank besides that.
It's a very interesting topic, because you don't want 8-9 teams trying to lose intentionally, but from a fan perspective, and Bailey and I have this discussion too, he doesn't believe in tanking. I 100% do, because to me,
in this situation, for sure.
But I even think about it from the perspective of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, obviously, they were never going to do it because Mike McCarthy wasn't going to try to lose. But if you think about a guy with job security, I think you think Dayball's gone. I think Dayball's losing on purpose. Not that he needs to; they're going to lose anyway. But I think he's losing on purpose, and they told him that his job is safe. Now, they might lie and fire him anyway. But I think that's what's going on there. And like when they missed that field goal against the Saints the other a couple weeks ago, or it just missed it on purpose. Or kicked it into the line. They were like, "Hey, kick this real low." But anyway, to me as a Cow, it's like I would have way rather us just lost out and got a top 5 pick and had a chance to go get a really good receiver or lineman or something. Now we're going to be picking 15, 14. Like it's basically like a few picks better than last year where we lost them. It just doesn't make sense to me to win these games. But regardless, I also don't want to see 8 teams trying to lose on Sunday. So I understand having to preserve that.
I think they should go to something where it's not full-blown lottery like the NBA where it's like 14% chance. I don't want that because you can't, in the NFL, in my opinion, you can't do that because, teams will stay bad, essentially forever.
No, you can't do that, yeah.
But I think you do something along the lines how we do it in fantasy football where it's like
50%.
I would do bottom 4, like absolute bottom 4 teams in the NFL all get 25% chances, and you have to pick in the first 4 picks. It's just straight ping pong balls.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So you're not, as long as you finish in the bottom 4, you're guaranteed one of those picks,
yeah.
And then from there.
And
that way, because, these games now, it's like, now I get that.
You're still going to have some, no matter what you do, because then it's like, okay, well, if we're 5th, do we really want to be 5th worst?
Sure.
Or do we lose?
Sure.
You're still going to have, no matter what you do, you have the problem, but it does make it a little bit better in the sense of like the bottom teams, like the Giants this week, the Raiders this week, they're trying to win at that point, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to lose on purpose because they know they're guaranteed
You're
to be
still in the bottom, and you have
right.
a 25% chance. I think that would limit some of it, but it's like, to most of these coaches' credit to the NFL players, it really doesn't seem like, it's not like NBA where it's full-blown, tanking.
Right.
And NBA is so funny because it's like you're doing that literally for a 14.5 point chance at a ping pong ball. You know, it's like NFL has done a good job, I think, of combating that anyway. It's like these guys aren't going to go out there and try to lose. So
I'm going to run through these, and you tell me if you want to talk about one of these in depth. If not, we'll move on from it. So Falcons obviously dominated the Giants 34-7.
Yeah,
we just talked about them. Michael Penix's first career start.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't see much of it. I looked at the stats. I think it was fine. It was average. It's against the worst team in the NFL. So
didn't make sense, and I'll say this, and then we can move on from this, and you can respond if you want. But made zero sense to go to Michael Penix here. If you think about it from the ownership perspective, from the GM perspective, I am never allowing Raheem Morris to make this move, right? I understand Kirk Cousins has been bad. I understand that you just drafted a quarterback 8th overall, which right away tells me that they have no idea what they're doing there because they just paid Kirk Cousins all this money and then they go out and draft Michael Penix 8th overall. Doesn't make any sense, right? So clearly you have incompetent people in this building. Regardless, if I'm that owner or that, especially specifically the GM, I'm like, look, dude, I need to maintain Kirk Cousins' value if we're going to get rid of him at the end of this year, okay? So we're playing the Giants this week. Whatever you need to do to pump up his confidence, whatever, have him throw 5 touchdown passes, throw the damn ball the whole game. This season is irrelevant. Now, Raheem Morris is the first-year head coach. He thinks I'm going to the playoffs, you know? But the problem is they're probably not going to the playoffs anyway. If they do, they have a 0.0% chance of winning more than one playoff game, right? Probably won't win one at all because they're going to play the Vikings or the Lions in the first round.
And would have a much better chance with Cousins anyway.
Exactly.
No matter how bad he's playing.
No matter how bad he's playing. I mean, yesterday they played the Giants and Penix was very, very average. They're going to win that game regardless of who the quarterback is. It just doesn't make any sense at this point. You completely bomb his value. Now they're saying they're not even going to fucking trade him. The fact that they're not even, like, think about that. You're telling me that a team like a bad team might not want to take him, and you're just going to take a $90 million loss right away because of a 4-game bad stretch? Like, this is the most mismanaged situation in terms of a valuation of a player I've seen in a long time, in the sense that they paid this guy X amount, right? So you're saying he's worth this amount, and probably he was to a couple other franchises.
Yeah.
And you then, in a span of 5 weeks, go from he's our guy for 4 years to no, we're going to cut him and take a $100 million loss. Like, it is one of the more odd situations I've seen in the NFL in a long time. And in terms of a loss of value, it becomes one of the worst moves we've seen in a long time in the NFL. Signing him to that deal, getting Penix. And it's like, man, if Penix doesn't work out there, everybody's fired. In my opinion. I mean, 100% the GM is fired.
It's a clusterfuck. I don't have much more to add on that. I think you nailed it. I don't know what they're doing.
Dolphins beat the Niners 29-17.
Yeah, I don't care.
We're going to come back to Purdy's contract in a second. Bengals beat the Browns 24-6. Joe Burrow is the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 275-plus yards and 3 or more touchdowns in 7 consecutive games. He's playing like an MVP, and they're not going to make the playoffs. They're not mathematically eliminated, but they basically are. Colts, Titans was the weirdest game I've seen in a long time. The Titans scored on the first play of the game. Mason Rudolph passed to Calvin Ridley. They go up 7-0. After that,
the greatest first quarter team to ever, the worst, greatest first quarter team of all time.
You know, they've led in the first quarter in 12 of their 14 games.
Yeah, I know.
They've led in the first quarter in 12 of their 14 games, and they are 3 wins.
Yeah.
And after they scored in this one, 7-0, and at one point had the ball, they then allowed the Colts to score 38 consecutive points and go down 38-7, and then rattled off 23 unanswered themselves to cut it to a 1-score game, and had the Colts were a chance. It's like, if they get a stop, they're going to get the ball back and a chance to tie this game. Odd fucking game. But of course, the Titans lose. And that's what you want. You want them to, play hard and lose by losing the last couple quarters. Just keep that draft pick positioning. Yep. And then the Rams 19, Jets 9. Rams control their own destiny. We can get in. Let's start right there in the playoff picture, okay? So obviously, we'll start with the NFC. You asked me earlier. So Detroit does control their own destiny to the 1 seed. However, oddly enough, so do the Vikings.
Yep.
So the Vikings have a harder road. The Vikings play the Packers at home this week. The Lions, who do the Lions have? They have somebody not great. It's they go to San Francisco. Okay. So here's the deal. If Minnesota, actually, if Detroit wins this week, Philly is eliminated. They cannot get the 1 seed if Detroit wins.
Okay.
Because if Detroit or Minnesota, if either of them tie with Philly doesn't get the 1.
Gotcha.
Okay, so Philly's basically locked into the 2, barring something very odd happening, right? And so that means Detroit and Minnesota, more than likely, unless Minnesota gets upset by the Packers. If Minnesota beats the Packers this week, the last week, which would be fucking awesome, would be for the division and for the number 1 overall seed. And you'd have 14-2 Detroit versus 14-2 Minnesota. I don't know if we've ever seen anything like this, if that happens. And it would be Minnesota, the winner is the 1, and the loser is not only the 5, they're going on the road week 1 to play either the Falcons or the Bucs. So
that's crazy.
Huge implications. What do you think happens with that? Does Detroit hang on to this 1 seed? And if so, do the Vikings beat the Packers this week and get to that game?
Yeah, I don't know. Is the game in Green Bay or
no?
Minnesota?
It's in Minnesota.
Yeah, coin toss game. What is it? Minnesota going to be favored by like 2?
3, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Maybe, yeah. I'm guessing they're neutral.
Who knows?
Even on a neutral.
Yeah. No, I think Detroit will hold on to it. But I really hope Minnesota wins this week, so we have that showdown last week of the season to watch.
That would be
for
awesome.
Sure.
That means Philly's holding on to the 2 spot right now. Looking at the rest of the projections, currently Los Angeles is projected as the 3 seed. They're 9-6. So here's the deal with them. That loss from Seattle yesterday was massive. That actually was a huge, huge loss. So because of Los Angeles's tiebreaker over Seattle, Seattle has to have a better record. They have to have they can't tie. It has to be a better record. Even if Seattle beats the Rams in the last game of the season, if the Rams win this week against the Cardinals, they're in.
Okay.
So essentially, the Rams just have to win one of the next 2,
yeah.
right? Seattle has to win both and have the Rams lose to the Cardinals. That's it. And if the Rams win this week against the Cardinals, we essentially will have the playoffs set in terms of all the teams in, with the exception of Atlanta, Tampa Bay. We talked about that a second ago.
Yep.
Tampa Bay plays what is it, like the Raiders and the Saints? Is that what it was? But both are on the road. Is that correct?
Tampa Bay plays the Saints and the Panthers.
Okay, Saints and the Panthers are both of them are. No,
one's
I'm sorry.
at home,
Both of them
one's
are
at the
at both of them are at home. My bad.
Oh, okay.
Both of them are at home. So the Bucs need to win both of those games. Have to.
Yeah.
And then the Falcons. The big game for this is Commanders.
Yep.
Falcons. And you've already said you think the Commanders are going to beat them.
Yeah, I think. Well, I do. And if not, I think the Falcons will trip up one of these games. I expect it to be this one, obviously, but I wouldn't be shocked if Carolina beat them either.
So you think the Bucs get in?
Yeah.
Obviously, we both think the Rams are going to win one of the next 2.
Yep.
So we would then have Detroit or Minnesota as the 1 seed. Philadelphia. This would be crazy. Philadelphia and the Commanders in round 1 in Philly. And both those games were good games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Really great games. Yep.
That would be very, very fun. Although, if you look at it, Green Bay, if Minnesota does beat them this week, would be 10-5, tied with the Commanders. So that actually could flip. Green Bay could technically drop to the 7. That would be fun, too. Green Bay and Philly played a really good game the very first game of the season.
In Brazil, that'd be a good game.
These are going to be some fun matchups in the playoffs.
Yeah, the playoffs are going to be fun.
Hopefully, I would love to see that Minnesota matchup. Okay, over to the AFC. Kansas City just has to win one of the next 2 or have Buffalo lose one of the next 2. Almost certainly, they're going to get the 1 seed. Almost certainly, then Buffalo will get the 2. The 3 seed currently is Pittsburgh. I told you earlier, Pittsburgh, they have to win out. If they win out, they're in. They're the 3 seed. They get the bye. They get not the bye. They get the home playoff game. If they lose and Baltimore wins out, Baltimore gets the 3 seed. Who do you think gets the 3 seed there? The Steelers have to play the Chiefs this week at home, and then they get the Bengals at home.
Oh, the Ravens will end up getting it.
Okay. The Ravens' remaining schedule is at the Texans and versus the Browns. Now I will say this: they lose to the Texans in Houston. If Baltimore loses in Houston, now all of a sudden I think Pittsburgh has a very, very good chance of getting in because they just have to win one of the last 2. Now look, both games are at home, but it's still 2. Chiefs and Bengals are both going to be tough games.
Yeah, tough games for sure.
I would think the Ravens at home against the Browns, after losing to the Browns earlier this year, will win that game. And then we already talked a little bit about Houston, right? We think Houston's more than likely the 4 seed, and then they're going to get more than. We don't really know. This could play out a number of different ways. But the last part we'll talk about here is the 6-7 seed, which is Chargers Broncos, right? Chargers, Broncos are tied. Chargers beat the Broncos both times, so they hold the tiebreaker. And essentially the remaining games for Los Angeles are at the Patriots, at the Raiders. So 2 road games against bad teams. And the Broncos' 2 remaining games are at the Bengals versus the Chiefs. More than likely, the Broncos are going to be the 7. The Chargers are going to be the 6. Potential playoff matchups. Any take on any of these potential matchups here on either side as we kind of broke that down?
No, I think the Bills and Chiefs will end up playing in the AFC at Arrowhead, and then in the NFC. The NFC is a little bit tougher to call. I think the Lions will hold on to the number 1 seed and then get that playoff game at home, and then I don't know who they're going to end up playing in that game. I think that's more open than Philly. Just the inability to throw the ball with them.
That's
so
bad.
Who knows? Yeah. Who knows what ends up happening there? Who knows? I guess Hurts just has a concussion, right? So he'll be back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, he might be back this week.
Yeah,
I don't know how long that takes.
Who knows?
Bills and Ravens, if they play in Buffalo in the round 2.
The Bills will beat them.
Okay.
I think.
Which 6 or 7 seed has the best chance to make a run? Sorry, which wild card team, projected wild card team at the moment, has the best chance to make a run? Is it Minnesota?
Wild card team. Oh, man.
It would be Minnesota, Green Bay, Washington, Baltimore, Chargers, Denver.
I would say
Baltimore, but that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, if Lamar Jackson has to go play obviously he plays in Baltimore, so he's somewhat used to cold weather. But if you go to Buffalo and it's a nasty weather game, which the weather isn't going to be good, I just don't see them beating the Bills.
Yeah.
So maybe Matthew Stafford and my Rams.
Ooh, but they're going to be a division winner.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They won't be a wild card.
Right,
But I would love to see that. How funny is that? They legitimately have a chance to host. Could they host 2? Maybe not. Maybe they can only host 1. Maybe, actually, at the 3 seed, they probably would only host 1 because they would go on the road to Philly more than likely week 2 at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be fun to see how that plays out. We'll keep the playoff picture in the back of our minds here going forward as we talk on this show. All right, we're going to go to WNBA or not now. This is the most anticipated WNBA not in the show's history. Even Westbrook's over here pawing me. She's ready to go. She knows that I need a win here. So,
yeah. Once again, I'll state again, it's the most important WNBA not for you.
I disagree with that.
Yeah. Not for me.
It's big for you.
I have a 2-0 lead in the series, okay? We're going to your home court here for a couple. If I lose it, we just come back home for game 5.
Oh, so already making excuses. I got it. Okay. Just making sure.
I don't know.
Already making excuses.
It's time to play WNBA or not.
All right, here we go. WNBA or not. Ready to go. Number 1. He needs 3 out of 5 to go 60% and win. Although he wouldn't pass in a real test, but we'll count it. Okay, WNBA or not. Is this a WNBA player or not? Number 1.
Folks, this is how good I've gotten at this game. Dylan put her in here looking like a WNBA player, walking into an arena somewhere with a drink in her hand, getting ready to play a ball game. And that's not a WNBA player. It's probably some fucking soccer player or something. That's how good I am at this game, folks.
Final answer?
Yep. Oh, my God.
That is a WNBA player. Let's go. Reverse psychology.
He got the reverse.
He thought I was going basic.
It was like a double. No, that was like a double reverse.
The double reverse. It was a double reverse. I thought you would think it was
actually,
too
you
simple.
know what? No, that was actually, that's a good thought, actually.
Yeah.
1-0.
1-0.
It actually should have even taken one step further and been like, actually.
I thought you were going to do that, to be honest. It's way too obvious.
It's got to be a WNBA player, yeah.
But
that's a bad start.
You got cocky.
Yeah, I did.
Not so fast, my friend.
I was actually kind of hoping I missed that one just for dramatic purposes.
Subconsciously, missed on purpose.
Subconsciously, I missed that on purpose.
Okay, number two, WNBA player or not?
This is so fucking random. And this is, we're going like, this can't be a WNBA player. It looks like an actress, but then maybe it is a WNBA player. This is... Zoom in. Let me see the background here. This looks like a bullshit green screen.
I didn't edit this. I don't know. I'll just say that. I did not edit this photo.
I have a feeling I'm going to go over on this one.
Oh, he's trying to reverse jinx himself. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
No.
Scroll down. Weird carpet chair. What the fuck? You know what? No, I'm not going to overthink that. That's not a WNBA player. Oh, shit. Both Washington Mystics.
Oh, I might have used the same name, but it is a WNBA.
Oh, see, here we go, folks.
Hold on.
Hold on, folks.
I will show you the...
There's no way that girl's name's Emily Engstler.
You're right. It's not.
This is... Oh, nope. No. Under protest.
No.
Protest.
I swear to God.
I'll take this to the fucking Supreme Court if I have to. This is some bullshit. Alex, the fix is in. He couldn't beat me fair and square.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a God,
number 2, Zia Cook.
Okay, well,
Zia
that makes
Cook,
a little
LA
bit more
Sparks.
sense. Okay, fine.
Zia Cook, LA Sparks. I'm going to look her up so I prove that this is her. Zia Cook. I got this off of her Instagram. Zia Cook.
No, I believe you. It's
Instagram.
Okay,
you believe me? You want to move on? You don't want to see her Instagram?
I hope I go over 5 so we can even out after me going perfect last week. All right.
Number 3. Is this a WNBA player or not?
Got my mind in a you got my brain in a pretzel at this point.
I told you. I spent an hour and a half on this yesterday. You want me to zoom in on anything?
I'm trying to think what you would do here.
He's got the shakes over there. He's getting the cold sweat.
Thinking. So you'd go WNBA player.
Oh, now I got him thinking which order am I going. I didn't even think about the order.
I don't know if you
I just randoed it.
Yeah, that is a WNBA player.
Fuck, I thought I had him again. I didn't think he would think I would do 3.
No, that was just 2. Yeah, I mean, it was just,
Joiner Holmes, Seattle Storm. I also thought if I zoomed in right here, that looked like a joint. And I was thinking he'd be like, oh, she's not smoking. You didn't go far enough. I was like, I think that is a joint, by the way.
Oh.
He'd be like, oh, no, she doesn't smoke pot. She's in the WNBA. They drug test.
Oh, no.
But I didn't. I guess I gave you too much credit there.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, you did. Well, yeah, I was just trying to simplify it. I mean, it's like you went with like an obvious one first, and the other one looks like a weird actress, and then this one I was like, Turner's thinking there's no way I'm going 3 in a row. You went 3 in a row. So that's.
Would I go 4 in a row?
Probably. I have a feeling it might all be WNBA players.
Is it a WNBA player or not?
Looks like Robert Griffin III from here. It's got like storm shutters. You know what? This is now. Okay, so I could be wrong here, but this is. I'm gonna tell you my thinking.
Go ahead.
Those are like big time storm shutters right there. I think.
Yep.
And it looks like it's like on a. This looks like the island of like Barbados or somewhere in the Caribbean. And it's a track star, not a WNBA player.
Wow, I think you might have got it on I think this is a track star. Yeah, Jamaican track runner. Look at that.
Holy shit. God, I'm good. Yeah, that looked like somewhere in the islands with those storm shutters.
Okay.
And that road that's got like moss on it. I was like, dude, if this one is a WNBA player, you just got a girl that was from like Jamaica or somewhere over there. Like you could tell
that's
context clues it was.
Pastor Samania.
She looks like a runner decked out in the Nike. That was a hell of a pull right there. That's why I'm the best in the business, folks. Go down too early. And my team fights back. I could end up losing this game. Like I said, this is game 3 on the road. We're not even expected to win this. We're not even expected to win this game.
Okay.
This
I didn't know we were on the road here.
This would be a sweep.
All I know is no matter what, you did not get 70%, so I'm happy with that.
Oh
however,
let me make it 70%. You have to go 4 out of 5.
However,
I win if I get this.
However,
here we go.
However, you do win if you get this, but you fail, but you win. You fail the test, but you win. All right, this one I want you to think about this on this one. All right. This one, I went Inception level deep on this one, okay?
I might just flip a coin. You know what? To win it, I might just flip a coin and piss you off even more because that's how you pick these guys. And I can leave it up to fate because you claim that you've lost 19 coin tosses in a row. So I could make it 20
No, I don't claim. I have lost 19 coin tosses.
You got a coin in your pocket?
No, I want you to keep the integrity of the game.
Alex,
keep the integrity of the game.
No, this is going to piss him off
keep
far worse.
Keep the integrity of the game.
I am keeping the integrity of the game. I don't need to put any thought on this.
I mean, you're not.
I'm going to leave it up to fate.
He can't get it. That's what I thought. He can't get it on his own, so he has to flip a coin. He has to flip a coin to do it. See, there's not even any coins around. Now he's just wasting some time. No, he's going to do it with some bullshit. Flip a coin on his phone now. He's not even flipping a real coin, folks. He's going to the coin flip app. He's doing a coin flip app.
This is going to devastate Dylan if he loses this. He may never recover.
Well, no, because now I didn't get beat if you flip a coin. You just guessed on the last one. So I don't lose.
Yeah, but look at this picture. Like, anybody at home would be guessing on this last one.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I mean, look at her.
I'm just saying.
She could be a track star. She could be an actress. She obviously doesn't look like she plays in the WNBA. So, I mean, this is,
I don't think you're even, I think you know what you want to answer. You're going to say you're flipping a coin, but you're really going to guess. So you can say that you didn't flip it if you would lose. I think you've already flipped it. Look at all this time we're wasting
here we go. Here we go.
Let's see the coin flip.
Well, hold on.
I want to see it.
Oh, that says heads. So, here, I'm going to flip again. Heads is WNBA player. Tails is not WNBA
So you just got what?
It didn't go. It just says flag it. So, heads is WNBA. Tails is not. Tails, not a WNBA player for the win.
That is not a WNBA player, but you didn't beat me.
He's done it.
You didn't beat me.
He's done it.
Nope, you flipped a coin, and I told you I lost 20 coin tosses.
Undefeated. He knew he was going to lose another coin toss.
Nope. You did not win. You would not have been able to figure it out.
The coin decided your destiny.
Nope.
By the way, who is that though? Because you put the same name down again.
Let me see. Let me find the answer.
She looks like she runs track too. By the way.
She does. That's why she's tall. Well, she's tall. Of course.
No.
Track.
It's just I don't even think she looks that tall in that picture, honestly.
If you can tell me, well, it wouldn't have mattered if I gave you another picture because you didn't get it right. You just guessed on a coin flip. But this is the other picture I was going to use.
No, I definitely got it right. She looks way more like, dude, if you would have given me that picture, it would have been a slam dunk. To be completely honest with you.
But you wouldn't. Oh, here we go. To be completely honest, I was going to guess not WNBA player.
No, I was, honestly, hand to God, I was going to guess track star again.
Oh, God. Here we go. I was going to guess. I left it up to fate.
You've lost 19 coin tosses.
I was going to guess, but then I decided, no, let me flip a coin instead.
I knew
the answer. Okay, big
dog.
No.
I didn't know the answer.
I knew the answer.
That was gonna be my guess.
I don't believe you.
Okay, well, that's fine.
I don't believe you.
He's done it again.
Okay, moving on to college football. Let's see here. We had college football playoffs. None of the games were good, unfortunately. They were all blowouts. The closest one was actually arguably the biggest blowout. Texas and Clemson got interesting for a little bit late because
yeah, I mean that game was never really in doubt, but it was compared to the other ones, it was interesting, right? I mean, the other ones are terrible.
I think it got to a 7-point.
I'm going to go quick fix here for college football playoff because everybody's throwing their ideas out here. I've thought long and hard about it. Not long and hard, but I think it's a good idea. What you do is you go, and people are like, oh, more teams, bad games. This is how you solve that problem. You go 24 games like FCS, and here's why you do it. Top eight get buys. Has nothing to do with winning your conference championship. The top 8, right? That same way they do it in FCS. So the top 8 get buys. Then everybody that falls in order behind that play their matchups, just like they do in FCS. People can go, at home go look at the FCS bracket. But what makes that better is those games, the ones underneath the top 8, are always very competitive games. You know what I mean? You're going to get teams that are more evenly matched in that window than what we had this week. So you're going to get better games. But where it would never happen is because a lot of bowl games would get removed, right? But that's the way you solve it. Those games, when you're playing those teams are all going to be excited to be in the playoff. But, 24 teams, it takes the argument out of, oh, South Carolina and Ole Miss they would have been in. They would have been playing in that round. And you play them at neutral field. One of those games is the Alamo Bowl. One of those games is the Holiday Bowl. Whatever. Those teams go there and play those games. And then you move into the final 16. And then, 8 and, whatever. I think it's, a little bit more football, but we can get rid of these fucking crackerjack, shitty cupcake 70-0 games where these teams play. And it makes it real easy. The reason you keep the regular season, you still want to play good opponents in the regular season because there's more at-large teams. And I think you can make it simply where it's like this. You get 4 Power 4 conferences. The top 4 in the actual conference standings get in. So you have 4 SEC teams no matter what. You have 4 Big 10 teams no matter what. 4 Big 12, 4 ACC, and you just take the best 8 other at-large teams. No, and then that way it's done with the buys and the automatic bursts, whatever. They're going to get in the top 4 teams. That's why conference play would be really important. And then you take all the bitching and moaning that this team should have been in, and you take the SEC people like Paul Feinbaum going, oh, thanks a lot, real competitive games, yada, 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 and then not saying anything about Tennessee getting the fucking doors blown off.
Yeah, I agree with that
State,
100%.
Which is hilarious, but it's like, it solves the issue. You get 4 Power 4, each of them get the best 4 teams, the best 4 teams in, then 8 other at-large teams, the best 8 teams get a bye. I think you're going to get very competitive games like FCS does in that first window, and it makes the Holiday Bowl must-watch TV because it's teams that are still in the playoff, and the teams I just think it would make for better football games. Then you make it to the final 8. And listen, FCS does it too. It's still fun to watch. Now, of course, your number 1 team like Oregon playing the 16 seed, whatever, they're probably going to blow the doors off them. But if they don't, maybe it's a good football game, and it's just more football for people at home, that games that they actually want to see. In bowl game, I mean, in my opinion, instead of the fucking Carnegie Car Care Bowl. You could actually make that a...
I don't disagree with the fact that we have an issue with bowl games, and we have an issue. We talked about the opt-outs last week. We talked about the transfer portal. All of that, right, makes sense. And I agree that if you went that way and made the first-round games those smaller bowl games, that would definitely increase the viewership and help make more money for those bowl games. I don't know how they would... I guess they could... I don't know how they'd sell that in the sense that, like, those are in such random locations that there's been...
Think about it at the NCAA tournament, though. I mean, like, those teams, if you're a fan, I'm just making it up, right? Say Iowa State gets in as one of the teams and they're playing, I don't know, Miami. Iowa State and Miami. If that game's in Columbus, Ohio, both those fan bases are going to the game. It's just like any other bowl game. They're going to go watch it. It's a much bigger game than a bowl game,
my problem with it is this. College basketball is a bit different in the sense that, well, I guess you could argue the same thing, but I think so. They do seed those teams based on region. So like the highest seeds get the better locations.
And you could do that.
You could do that. Yeah. You could technically, I guess, tweak the bowl games to fit different areas. But my whole problem with it, I have less of a problem with it in terms of that. That's fine. Like, I think that actually is a good idea. What I don't like is I think we've already made, I think if we go any further than 12, even if we go to 16, which I think is probably going to happen, you just make the regular season to me so meaningless. Like, if you think about it, for SEC teams, like if you're Texas or Alabama, like, okay, so they have to be in the top 4 of the SEC or getting at large, but that's 16 teams and you're saying 24 get in. How many SEC teams would be in this year? You'd have Missouri, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia, Texas. Is that 6? They would get in those 6 teams probably get in every fucking year. Like, the last 2 might switch here and there.
Yeah.
But it's just like, essentially to me, you have the same fucking teams in there every single year with the exception of a few. And then you render the
well, not for the other conferences, though. For the SEC, 100%, right?
Yeah.
But other conferences that
Big
make
Ten too.
Yeah, but the other
Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon are going to be in every year.
Get it? But the other, but in this format, they're going to be in probably every year. I mean, you might get left out, on the fringe, and then you have these guys, like Feinbaum going, oh, it should be all SEC teams, and then Kurt Herbstreit going, just put the best. See, the argument is
Kurt Herbstreit's dumb.
Yeah,
The best 12-team argument is idiotic to me, and I'm not saying because I'm not saying Kirk's an idiot.
Then
but
why play the regular
games
season games?
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. I just think it's like in any sport, right? You try to make them for viewership purposes. You try to make every game. But I guess my argument is, listen, when Georgia's playing Alabama, people are going to watch anyway. It's an important game to both programs. They want to win that game. You want to be a top 8 seed in the format I'm giving anyway, because that's advantageous. You would like to be a top 8 seed and not have to play that extra game. To me, those games are still going to be important anyway. And to me, it also takes the argument out where it's like, look, a lot of people in the Big 12, are like, well, it's crazy that we're only getting, one team in, whatever, and we're a Power 4 conference, and you have all these biased other conferences. I think if you told every conference this is like, hey, your top 4 teams get in no matter what, and it just takes all the arguing out of it. Your top 4 teams get in, you figure out a way, a certain number of mid-major teams, whatever, you get a few of them in there too. It's an opportunity for more of those teams to go in, right? You might have saw Tulane or whatever. I'm just saying Army this year. I think I'm with you. I don't want to dole down the regular season any more than it already is. But in my opinion, in that case, then you should have just left it at fucking 4 teams and make the regular season really important. And then,
I agree with that, but I think it's already watered down. I think if you go, and I like college basketball a lot, but if you go to a playoff beyond 16 teams, like 24, you're heading towards essentially, like, I mean, how many games you can lose? I mean, you can essentially, a lot of these teams can lose 3 or 4 games and get the playoffs. Like, I just think, to me, that kills. From a viewership perspective, yes. From a monetary perspective, that would probably make more money. People are still going to watch Alabama, Georgia. the quality of that game is going to be significantly worse, in my opinion. You're going to have guys like, if guys, and you could argue that this is not that big of a deal, but you're going to have guys who are on the fringe of being injured or they're not playing, right? It doesn't matter. You're going to have guys, you know, like, oh, do I really have to go all out and risk injury or risk this in this game because we're going to be in the playoff anyway? And then you make everything about that playoff. And it's like the thing I don't like about college basketball is that a lot of the regular season is fucking meaningless. Like, not 100%, because a lot of those schools like on the fringe of the bubble for at-large bids, but you essentially have 36 conferences, and every single conference, you can lose every single game in the regular season of your conference and win your conference tournament and get in the tournament.
That's stupid.
I agree with that, but I'm saying
ever.
that's the direction you're heading by
it's one
going
extra
big.
game. 24 is one extra game.
24 is 24. It's not the extra game. It's the extra fact that we're adding.
Yeah, but those teams can't. My point is, Dylan,
It's
those
12
teams are
extra teams.
Yeah, but those teams are more than likely never winning it anyway, right? And if they do win it, then guess what? We had it wrong the whole time, and those teams make a run and beat. In football, it's not like basketball in the sense, like, look, in basketball, someone's three-pointers could be going in on that day, right? And you have to win, what, 7 to win the college? Or you have to win, 64. 6. Okay. Someone gets hot from the three-point line in college basketball, you can lose on any given day.
Yeah.
That's why college football, all you're doing is adding teams, making these other games more important, like the Alamo Bowl. I would much rather, just from a fan standpoint, living in San Antonio, right? The game this year is good because Colorado is saying they're going to play their guys and BYU is. But half the time you get people coming in here with their starters not even playing because they don't care. If that was a playoff game and Colorado and BYU both would have gotten in, I'm just saying they wouldn't have been matched up, obviously. But it's like, then it's a much more interesting game. And I just think for the neutrals especially that
I have
don't
a
know.
feeling if they were to do something like that, they would get rid of bowl games entirely. Because I think the one takeaway I had from this week is everybody loved the environment of the home playoff games. So that's the thing. And if you look at FCS, they play home, right? The home team you play at the home team stadium all the way until the championship.
That would be fine with me. I'm just trying to make the bowls, like if you were going to keep bowls, right?
Well, my thing is the thing I actually like best about your idea is that it makes the bowl games meaningful. So to me, it's like, I don't think they would ever do it in that way, but that's my favorite part of it is that because I agree with that part of it. Like, I think it would be cool to have an Alamo Bowl here, and it's like, oh, that's going to be a playoff location. And so like every year we get a playoff game in San Antonio.
Which it would be for sure. Obviously.
And that would be cool as shit. I like that part of it. To me, I agree with you in the sense that like, you're like, well, if you don't want to make the season watered down, then shouldn't have gone to a 12-team playoff. In all honesty, it goes both ways, because at one point I'm like, yeah, as a 12-team playoff, as a Texas fan, I love the fact that it's a 12-team playoff. As a fan, I like watching more college football games. I think you've preserved the way it's played out, right? I think you've preserved part of the competitiveness of the regular season. Like, if you lose 3 games, you're probably out now. Like, you can only lose 2 games as opposed to before where you could really only lose 1 or 0. I do like a little bit more margin of error. I just think if you get to the point, and there's not a right answer here. I think it's, I agree. I think it's a good suggestion. What I would do, in my opinion, because I think there's a lot of issues it addresses for sure. In my opinion, though, what it doesn't address and what I think is more important to address is, like what you mentioned earlier, playing the cupcakes. To me, you get rid of it. So Kalani Sitake had a great idea. You get rid of all the FCS opponents, which is coming anyway. We're not FBS will not play FCS in pretty soon.
Yeah.
However, what you do is you are not allowed to play. You want to have the ability for a power conference to play a non-power conference because otherwise they can't get a good win, right? So you want to allow that. But to me, each power conference should get 1 non-power game. They cannot play more than 1 non-power game, right? Like, they can only play a Tulane or a whatever, right? They're a good team.
Yeah.
You don't play East Carolina 1 fucking time. You can't play East Carolina, Western Kentucky, and Jacksonville State, right? You can't do that. Okay, you got to play 1 non-power 5, and then the other 2 games, you do what he said, which is a Big 12 SEC challenge, and where everybody in the SEC is matched up with somebody in the Big 12. And then you do a second week where it's ACC, SEC. And so each, every 2 years you switch it and you go home, and then you switch the next year. And it's like, to me, at least that might not solve it perfectly because you're going to have teams, you don't know what team's going to be good and vice versa, but at least you are playing all power conferences. You're playing equal amount of group of 5 teams. You're playing equal amount of power 4 teams. You're playing equal amount of teams from a different specific conference within your conference. And then you can very easily, at least it makes it a lot easier to equate. Okay, you don't get the situation with Indiana where it's UCLA or where they played fucking Western Carolina and Kent State, and then just go 11-0, getting an easy schedule, dodge Penn State, dodge Oregon, whatever, right? Like, and get in the playoff. You won't have that if you do that because they're going to play much tougher games. I also think they should not allow the conferences to schedule, like the conference commissioners shouldn't be making the schedules. It should, I don't know how they could do it, but there needs to be like an outside group who makes the schedules, like a unbiased group where it's randomized. Because to me, and, obviously you keep the rivalry games or whatever. But to me, like, if you look at the Big Ten, the SEC, the way they did their conference schedule, they flipped it. Like, if whoever played home plays away this year, basically, the weeks might be different, but the teams are the same. The Big Ten didn't. The Big Ten just switched it to make teams play easier schedules. They didn't even do, and they can just do that. They just do whatever the fuck they want. That's the problem, the biggest problem to me, rather than make it bigger. But as a fan, would I want to see more games? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the reason the 24 works as well is because, like I said, and I like the idea of getting rid of cupcakes and the conferences doing like those challenges like they do in basketball. That would be fun too. But it's like you get 4 in no matter what of the big conferences. And it's so then, and then you look at the matchups, like you get like Miami and Ole Miss playing and, Army sneaks in as now is Army ever going to win the national championship? Of course not. But people would still want to tune in to watch, those games that are not just bowl games. I think that's a good idea. I think there's other good ideas too. I don't know, but it's just more football. And I think that if you actually asked all the big conferences, like the Big 12 and all of them, they would be on board with it because now the Big 12 knows they're getting 4 in, right? Of
course they would, because they make more money the more people get in the playoffs.
Sure.
So of course everybody's going to be on board with it because it's a money grab. But in terms of the sanctity of the sport, I think the bigger you trend, the worse the product is. Will it be more entertaining once the playoffs come? Yes. Will the playoff games early on be good? Better? Yes. Will the playoff games in the second round be good? No, because it's going to be the same thing. You might get a little bit better. Yeah, you might have a team who gets a hot.
You might get an upset.
But like you said, football is different from the basketball. Usually the team who's better is going to win. In terms of 10-point favorites, not going to get upset at a home playoff game very often, right? Like, so you're going to get a lot of those still if you have home games. So I don't know if it solves a ton. I think we're trending towards more of that. I think what they're going to do is they're going to go to 14 next couple years, and they're going to go to 16, and they're going to go to 20, and they're going to go to 24. Like, it's probably, look at the fucking basketball tournament. They're trying to expand that to fucking like 80 teams.
Well, yeah, that would be
ridiculous. Idiotic. Yeah. But then that's my point is, where do you draw the line? So we make it 24, then why don't we make it 32?
No, yeah, you can't do that. I think 24 would be the max. I'd be fine with 16, but the problem with I'm fine with the way it is now. I'm just saying if you do make it 24, you solve the bowl game issue, in my opinion.
If
you
they made those games bowls.
Yeah. Which I think they would. From a money perspective, well, I think they absolutely would, because
the schools are going to make more money with a home game.
Exactly, but the bowls would cry. They would say, "Fuck no, you're not getting rid of our bowls."
I agree,
and
but
that's the way you solve it.
I agree, but the schools and the conferences are going to well, fuck. Why do we give a fuck what they think?
No, because they're still going to make money by going to the bowls. Like, they're going to get the payouts, the bowl payouts for going to that bowl.
I don't know. I think I have a feeling that if it expands, we're going to keep home games. I don't think they would. Like I said, I think your idea is better. I would rather have them be neutral. I would rather have them bowl games. I just don't think they'll do it. I think they'll be home games.
The only reason the FCS doesn't have, because the fan bases are too small. That's the only reason they have home field games. Yeah, that's the only reason they do that. College football easily could do it at bowls.
All right, that's all we got for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, number 64. We will be back at some point to talk about the college football playoff. Not Wednesday because it's Christmas, so we'll figure out.
Yeah, but actually we can talk about it Monday because those games aren't until the 31st. We can talk about it Monday.
Make sure if you're new to the channel, like and subscribe. Follow us on social media. Check out our Patreon, all that good stuff. And all of our content is linked below. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll catch you guys next time.